Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're about to start chapter 15 right now. Course is starting. We are in the authority section. So we've been leasing on the companies and looking at this and doing this for a while, and now we are right here, and we want to looking at having our own authority. We want to be exposed to that and see what's going on. You know, the pros, the cons, the responsibilities, the benefits. We want to know more about it, how to do it, how to get into motion, what it's all about. And at the end of the day, is it something for me? Is it worth it for me or not? That's what you're going to be able to help decide for yourself more. Chapter 15, Own Authority. And this is a picture of my truck right here on the door. I have on my door up here it says owner operator since 2012. Something I like to have on there, really more so to put like state police on notice. Like if I'm getting pulled over or like an inspection, you look at my door, it's like I'm gonna let you know that, like, hey bud, I've been doing this, so it's okay. Like, don't look at me like some young kid that's just got out here and you can just have your way with it or whatever. So let's begin. Chapter 15, Own Authority. The pinnacle of trucking, you say. The top of the top, the cool kids club. To have your own authority in trucking is a special thing. You leave the dispatchers behind. You leave the pesky safety department behind. You leave the always in your business compliance department behind. And now you split your money with no one. But with more opportunity does come more responsibility. Having your own authority can be great. I've had my own authority for years now, and I would never go back to leasing onto a company. Straight up. I'm the type of person who naturally finds ways to improve almost any business I go into, even when I'm not trying. I can hardly go into a restaurant without noticing, that their picture isn't straight. It's like crooked or something. I'm like, what's going on? This is a place of business, right? But, or a better way they can represent their menu. Like, oh, this place is really good. Like, how come they don't have put a little more effort into making a nicer looking menu or something? Or it's or like the obvious lack of customer service at a place. So it's only natural for somebody like me to eventually have his own authority too. So I can just improve those things I didn't like in the other ones. What does having your own authority mean? Okay, so having your own authority, having your own carrier authority means that you have permission, that's the authority part. You have authority from the federal government to be your own trucking company and to operate as that trucking company across, state lines from state to state. So federal will give you jurisdiction for all the states. And to be able to bill and receive payment for hauling freight as your own trucking company. Operating authority is issued by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, the Fed, federal, in the form of a motor carrier number, an MC number. So, that's in a nutshell. That's what it is. We're having when we have our own authority. That means that you have the authority from the federal government to be your own trucking company from state to state and to be able to bill and receive payment for hauling your trucking company. And you will be recognized as being able to do so with a motor carrier number, an MC number. Once you get assigned this number, you're recognized as being a motor carrier. For years, I learned under Landstar, and eventually a small outfit from Missouri, small company from Missouri. Throughout the process, I would see little flaws in the operations and things that I could do better myself, or things that I would want to be different. The time came when I decided to leave Landstar, and after 6 months at the smaller company, I decided to go ahead and leave them too, on good terms, of course. I left to embark on my own journey, one where I'm the safety department, I'm the compliance department, right? One where I'm the dispatcher and the negotiator. I wanted these responsibilities because I knew I could do it better. I wanted more control of my success and more control over my freedom. I had gotten really good at trucking by this point, and definitely loved trucking more than ever. And yeah, I was already good at booking loads and stuff like that off Landstar, so it just made sense. Many people go get their own authority and fail. And many people go get their own authority and do great. Getting your own authority is the easy part. Anybody can really do that. What you do to stay in business and stay profitable will be what makes your legacy. Having your own authority can be such a great experience. And I honestly say having my own authority has improved my lifestyle by a lot. And what I mean by improved lifestyle is improved financially, improved my freedom of time and schedule, lowered my overall stress level, and improved my experience and morale while out here actually physically doing the trucking. The approach to getting your own authority can be confusing and seem frightening or even discouraging, right? It does take work and some money to get started. I highly recommend studying everything I'm about to show you and to study from other resources too, like OIDA and Truckerz Report. Take the time to really run your numbers and know on paper how much money you will save by activating your own authority and by leaving the company you're currently leased to. Now, this is my suggestion. It's not written in stone or something that you have to do because, I've met plenty of people along the way and people who have come through my program that started with less. But I suggest having at least $20,000 to $40,000 cash in the bank before you really get into doing your own authority. So if you're not at this point yet, then I think it's just a sign to keep on grinding it out where you are and save this money up. So while you're there, you're going to be getting more experience anyways. You're going to be getting more familiarized with this book and the program that I'm talking about, so you can just really transition into this and just knock it out. It really helps if your truck and trailer is paid for too. And that's another thing too. If you can stick around to wherever you're at first until you pay off your truck and trailer, that makes this transition way smoother too. Not necessary, but way smoother. If your truck and trailer is paid for and you come into having your own authority financially strong, you increase your probability of success by a ton. You pretty much guarantee your success. Don't be in such a rush to get to this point, though. Take your time. Continue to learn the business like you're doing now. Get your truck and trailer into great mechanical shape, or at least your truck in the beginning until you get your trailer. Learn your mechanics, save your money, and make this transition a strong transition. If you make the transition into having your own authority strong and continue to move smart and grow, you may never have to go back to being leased to another company again. My aim is not to bash being leased to a company, and I don't look down on people who are leased to a company either. What I am saying is some people like myself, after experiencing the other side, we just never want to go back to being in those types of corporate structures again. All right, let's keep it moving. Some guys find small companies to lease onto with 20 trucks. The owner has, the owner of the small trucking company, well, it's actually a pretty large trucking company, but compared to the mega fleets, it's small. The owner has a shop and tools and maybe some mechanics, and they get along, and say who's leased to this company, is getting along well. It gets along great with the owner, and the percentage they pay the company is fair. The insurance is affordable. The trailer rent is free or cheap. Then that's okay too. These types of deals make sense and are great. The problem or the challenge is finding these companies. If you can find a deal like this and you really enjoy being there and don't mind paying the 13% or so that to the company, then more power to you, right? There's nothing wrong with this. But do be mindful that right here in the yellow, that 13% can add up quickly. This small company I was with leased to for those 6 months, they charged me 13%. Some weeks I was paying $800, $500, $900, and etc. for 1 week. In a span of a year, that would be in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 or more I'd pay in to be in lease to this company. Yeah, it's actually probably more than that. So yeah, we're looking at $1,000, $4,000. Could be even more. So say if every week, say if it was about, let's just say on the low end, 500 a week, that's 2,000 a month. 2,000 times 10 is 20,000. Then you add another 2. That's 24,000. So if I was working every week, it could be as much as $15,000 to $30,000 that I paid off that 13%. So something to keep in mind. And In this company, I also paid $300 a week for liability insurance and cargo insurance. Then on top of this, I had the so-called freedom to book my own loads, but the owner would like to book loads behind my back and make commitments without my consent and put me on loads I didn't want to do and stuff, and I didn't like that. These are the type of loads that I would never haul, loads that didn't pay the rates I required to go to certain areas, loads that were way too heavy for the terrain. I had to literally tell him to not book loads for me. I was like, yo, do not book loads. Like, stop, I got this. I just came from 5 years at Landstar booking every one of my loads, so this was super frustrating to me. This is really the main reason why I only stayed 6 months. They were just too used to booking for their lease operators and just wanted to keep on, running me through the same, template. And I came in there and broke the mold, I guess. I already had my own flatbed trailer paid off before I even got to this company. I paid off my flatbed over at Landstar. But I did get some valuable experience, right? I learned how the real world of owner operating works. Because even in Landstar, I really didn't get to experience how the real world of owner operating works outside of being leased to a company. So I got to learn about carrier packs. I learned about public load boards like truckstop.com and DAT and how to use them. And I learned about credit checking, how to credit check brokers. I learned about factoring versus not factoring. I learned how brokerages work. I learned about fuel cards. I learned about billing techniques. And I learned about insurance. I learned that I had the ability to do this myself and have a real shot at it. I didn't have a family member or a mentor close by that I could ask. None of them had crossed that bridge yet. I knew a ton of people in owner ops and different people that I met along the way, that have been, great help to me along, but it's just none of them had made this step. They were all playing it safe, so to speak, on the other side. And that's okay. The point I'm making is my future was getting more clear, and I decided to blaze a trail of my own, and that's what I did. Now you get to have this information from me that I didn't get to have, right? Because you invested in yourself by getting yourself into this program. So congratulations again. That's what's up. That's what I would have did. The things I had to, feel my way through, you get to already know. So by studying and analyzing, so you get to study and analyze all this before you just jump in. Like, I had to jump in and just learn how to swim pretty much. But definitely I did a ton of studying and analyzing, but it just didn't have all this information in one place for sure. I had to go all over the place, and I still didn't even know if what I gathered was, really the right stuff. So talk about a game changer, okay? So just continue to lend me your patience as we dive deeper into having your own authority and into this H2ST program. I decided to call around and get insurance quotes first. This is the first thing I did. I told myself, if I can get an insurance quote that's close enough or cheaper than what I'm paying now, I'll go for it. I'll go get my own authority. And I will leave the safety nest, quote unquote, of a larger company. And sure enough, I get my quote back from OIDA, and it's exactly what I was paying for at the company I was leased onto, which was about $300 a week, $1,200 a month. After that, it was on. I went on a search to figure everything out I needed to do next. I started calling around all over the place and seeing what all I needed to get started. OIDA is a great resource when it comes to this, okay? So keep that in mind. OIDA is another nice resource to have during this process. I will make a list in this chapter of all the things you will need, to be an active motor carrier. But I actually suggest just maybe letting OIDA do it in the beginning. It was like $700 to let them do it. But I know this may sound funny because I'm always talking about like initiative and doing it yourself. But in the beginning, it may be a little overwhelming, and by using their service, you don't end up paying much more than if you were to do it yourself. It might be a couple $100 more if you paid them to do it. A man in the OIDA compliance department was telling me everything I needed to do over the phone. So shout out to him. I had a big pad and a pen. We were on the phone, and he stuck with me for like 30 minutes, just answering everything I had questions for, and I was just writing down everything I needed to do. It was just so foreign to me, and some of the terms were as well, and I had him repeat himself many times. I'm like, can you say that again? How much insurance again right here? And ultimately, I decided on hiring them to go ahead and help me get the process started. Their service is about $800 if I remember right, plus I don't know what it is now, but I paid a $750 refundable deposit to OIDA for my insurance, so they still got $750 of mine. If I were to ever transfer insurances, they would return my $750. But since you have, my booking program, you'll have all the required filings, documents, and etc. that you need in plain and clear English. So the same list I was writing down, you'll have those lists too, in a more easy to like an owner operator, like truck driver type of way to understand. It's just simple, plain, clear English. So if you have time and you want to save a few bucks, you can for sure you go to the .gov websites, into the to your state websites, and get everything started yourself. But nowadays I don't pay anyone to do any of that stuff. I do it myself, even down to the simple stuff like renewing my LLC. I am my own registered agent, and I renew it myself on the state website for $30, compared to a couple $100 to let a service provider do it. A lot of this stuff is very easy, and this goes right back into when we're talking about keeping our overhead low for our business and etc. Okay, when we knock out some of this stuff ourselves. But in the beginning, I think it's okay to let OIDA help you get started. So that's that. The key is just knowing what all you are required to do if you're going to want to set it up yourself. But some of this is quite a bit of what we call smoke and mirrors, but it's not that bad. I did take off for about 1 month during that transition time. So when my authority became active, it took me about a month to do what I'm about to say. Not because my DOT number wasn't active. I just wanted to get all my back office paperwork straight and set up, because you will get what's called a new entrant safety audit within a year to a year and a half of activating your authority. Don't let this audit scare you or make you nervous, but you do have to have your stuff together. I passed mine very easily, okay? The work I put in during that first month made sure that all my required stuff was in order, from driver files to company policy. So, you're watching this video right now. That means that you bought into the whole bundle and the whole program. So inside this bundle, you'll get my new authority company policies templates. So you don't have to do all that stuff the long way like I did in the beginning. You can just take all those, because we are required to have company policies on this, and this thing. And I already made all the templates. So all you got to do is just pull up the templates, and whatever is highlighted in yellow, just undo that part and fill it in with your name, and you can print these out, put them in the binder, and you'll have all that stuff. So you don't have to do it all from scratch. Okay, I'm making it easier. The strange thing was, when I did get my new entrant audit, I really didn't get asked for much. It all happened over the email. Never even met him. It would all happen over email with an assigned state trooper acting on behalf of the FMCSA. He asked me for my logs, my insurance, my active authority paper, my drug testing consortium enrollment, a picture of my CDL, and a medical certificate. Those 5 things. And he just wanted to see my logs for like a month back or something. He wanted to see my insurance, that I have active insurance. He wanted to see my active authority paper, which is, those are super simple 3 things. He wanted to see my drug testing consortium enrollment. That's just a piece of paper saying that I'm inside of a drug testing program. And a picture of my CDL, and a picture of my medical certificate, which I already have. So really none of that required anything from me except for like getting my logs and sending them. I don't remember him asking for much more than that. This is like, the basics, right? So I had so much more prepared, but that's all he wanted to see. But hey, that's fine by me. But nonetheless, I still think it's a great idea to have all the back office paperwork in order and according to code before you start heading out and doing your stuff. It's not that difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. The good news is, once it's set up, you never really have to deal with it again. You just do your little updates, like re-enroll in your drug testing consortium, you file your IFTA, and etc. Maintaining your authority is nothing like the beginning hurdle that we have to jump to get it started. Like, once we get it started, it's pretty super simple to keep it going. Now, before I get into the particulars of what's needed, I must say again, getting your own authority isn't for everyone. If you decide against it, that doesn't make you a loser or anything crazy like that. Some people just find their happiness in leasing, and some find their happiness in having their own authority. There are plenty of successful owner-operators at Landstar, Mercer, Universal, and etc. They have nice extended cab trucks, they haul government explosives, and they make a killing. It's all about finding what works for you and what delivers you the most profit in the lifestyle and schedule you prefer. What resonates with you? What do you see? My normal schedule throughout the year is I go out for about 2 to 4 weeks, and then I come home for about 3 to 6 weeks. Like right now, I'm at like 4 weeks being home. It's about time for me to go out again. I'm gonna go do it again. Probably today's Wednesday. It might be Thursday already. Is it Thursday? No, it's only Wednesday. So I'll either go out Friday or Monday, and I'll get back to it. And I take off pretty much all winter. So yeah, so like right now it's September, October. I'll work all the way up until December, and I won't do much in like January and February, and I'll be back out by March, like tail end of March. And I might do a couple short loads since I live down south, and maybe I'll just take something like West Texas or down to Houston and come back and do it. But I'm not gonna go out trucking. Not cross country, not out of not what over the road. Yeah, so when I do go out in the winter, into the winter, it's only for a couple weeks, and I rarely see the snow. This was not always the case, but eventually I did make it to be this way. We all know the challenges of the winter, the cold, and the road chemicals that eat up our trucks and etc. If you make, if you continue to make smart moves throughout the year and save your money right, I think you'll be able to, if you decide to take off, take it easy every winter or on the winter time, you can too, or just run less. It's up to you. I just don't like getting all those road chemicals and stuff on my frame and tearing up my electrical stuff, and it's just dealing with all the extra stuff that comes with winter, frozen brakes, and just being so cold all the time. I'd rather just be home for that. There's nothing wrong with working the winter, of course, but the point I'm making is you have to work towards the type of lifestyle that you are the most happy in while increasing your bank account balance. I can make more money, but my lifestyle is what I like, and my bank account is steady growing regardless. I can make more money faster, but I'm constantly building and enjoying a lifestyle. Okay. So why should I drive 100,000 miles a year? Why should I put myself in my truck through the harsh winter conditions? I've been there and I've done that, and I've put my time in. Okay, so it's just something that to look forward to, or that you can decide to do or not to do as you go forward. So now that I've set the mood for what's going on in this realm of having your own authority, let's begin to discuss the necessary requirements to having your own authority and ways you could do it yourself if you choose. One more thing to notice is make sure you have a solid plan before jumping out here with your own authority, because it's pretty much sink or swim. Make sure you have a trailer and you know where you're going to get your freight from. Make sure you know whether you're going to factor or not. Make sure you have 3 to 6 months worth of operating capital in hand, not in just credit cards and stuff, but cash. Make sure you already have insurance quotes. Make sure that this is what you want. Like I keep saying, having your own authority can be very rewarding, and on the flip side, it can be a major frustration and failure for people who aren't prepared and not willing to take the extra responsibilities and put in the work in that comes with this extra freedom. I can honestly say I make more money and way more profit than I did leasing onto a company, and which was Landstar. I also have more freedom and happiness as well. So with that being said, let's continue. So this is a list of the stuff that you'll need to have active authority, and to be a motor carrier. Which is like you need an LLC or a DBA in your home state. And this will be a list here. You can just come back and look into the book and into the ebook or to the book itself, so you can just like really write it down and get the list. But I'll just go through this list. And it seems like a lot, but this is something that OIDA could help you do in the beginning. I let them help me get started in the beginning. It's no big deal. But so number 2, we need a federal tax ID, which is like an EIN number. We need to submit what's called an OP1 application. And this is pretty much an order too. Then we need an MCS 150, which is a motor carrier identification report. Then we get our DOT number, our MC number, then our BOC 3. Then we have our insurance, which is $1 million primary liability insurance, and at least $75,000 in cargo, but $100,000 cargo insurance is preferred. Then we get our UCR, which is our Unified Carrier Registration. It's just a fee that we pay once a year, like $75. A paid $22.90. Before you can activate your IRP account, you have to have a paid $22.90 heavy highway tax. All right. We know $22.90. If you've already been leased to a company, you already know what a $22.90 is. If not, it's just a heavy highway tax. It's $550. We pay it once a year around August. Then we get our IRP. This is your truck registration, aka your cab card and all that. You pay this within your state, and this is your license plate, your cab card, base plates, and etc. Whenever you hear that term base plate, cab card, or license plate, our registration is all the same thing, which is this IRP. And IRP stands for International Registration Plan. So this is our license plate. We do that at our home state. Like me, I do mine here in Louisiana at the DMV. And now I can renew it over the internet since, post-COVID, with more options to do stuff on the internet, online, without going into the DMV, I guess. So, the next is to be enrolled in a drug testing consortium. And as of 2020, we're into also being enrolled in a drug testing clearinghouse. Not so complicated. This looks like a long list of stuff, but a lot of this is one-time done stuff that OIDA is going to help you get started with. That'll do for you. Unless you want to do it yourself, which is fine too. All these can be done yourself at the .gov site, save a little bit of money. Then we need an IFTA account, and IFTA stands for International Fuel Tax Agreement. Even as a company driver, those are the little squares, the little IFTA stickers, of course. And on that number on the IFTA sticker will have your IFTA account number, and that's what keeps track of, doing our quarterly, allows us to do our quarterly IFTA contributions. Then we do weight distant permits for certain states, like New York, New Mexico, and Kentucky require weight distance permits. And Oregon requires a permit and a bond if you decide to operate in their state under your own authority. And you must have an IRP account before able to apply for any of these. Then you got, your New York HUT sticker. It's like $2, but got to get that you got to set up an account at New York State in order to get that one. And the same thing with this. You got to set up your own account in New York, your own account in New Mexico, your own account in Kentucky. I do to Kentucky and New York. I rarely go to New Mexico, but I'm still set up with them, and I just send them $0. I just filed a report. New York gets a little bit, Kentucky gets a little bit. Kentucky actually they kind of charge quite a bit. I think I paid them like $30 on my last one just for going like 600 miles through the state. So Kentucky's collecting it. But we have individual accounts in each one is what I'm saying, okay? And then you need about 1 to 2 months of time to process all this paperwork and filings before you get fully activated and ready for the road. Now, before continuing, I will share a link OIDA has for public information regarding getting your own authority. So this link right here is actually a really nice link. I helped use this. This link helped me in the beginning to make sure that I was staying on track. It has a good checklist to follow through as well. I went through OIDA to file my BOC3, start my UCR, and file my MCS 150 DOT number, MC number for drug testing, and to get set up in Kentucky, New York, and New Mexico. I also have, but you can do these Kentucky, New York, Mexico stuff yourself. But in the beginning, it was just also new to me. I was just like, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. And I also have my insurance through OIDA, like I brought up quite a many times already. So OIDA has been a pleasure to work with overall, and I have no plans to get my insurance through anyone else, unless I decide to want to start taking on owner operators, because OIDA wants me to have 9 years driving experience to hire somebody on, and I've had a couple people come through that's like, hey, can I just lease to your company, and and I've thought about it. I was like, you know what, I might do it, but OIDA wants 9 years, so that puts a lot of potential drivers just out of the category. Because usually, by the time somebody's been out here 9 years, they're doing their own thing by then. OIDA will help guide you through this process of getting your own authority, okay? As well, if you're a member. And I think they may even offer some advice if you're not a member. But like I said, it's $40. Tax write-off. And all that good stuff. But, having access to this information, having an extra crew of people around to help is nice. And if you're getting insurance through OIDA, I think you got to be a member anyways. But if you decide to hire them to help you in the startup process, they will give you a ton of great info, PDF files, and like a checklist and things to make sure that you're getting started right. Like their checklist is how I built the company policy, the new company policy templates, by just following their checklist, and I built it all from scratch, just going down the checklist one at a time. So just by having that help and the info and the PDF files and the list, that alone made it worth it to me. And like I said, the fee was right around $750, $700 or so. I now update my own UCR, MCS 50, which is like once every 2 years. UCR is once a year, and etc. Super simple. Just self-explanatory stuff. Just when it's time to do it, you just go into the government website and just update the form, and that's that. And so here's here's another link, applying for authority in OIDA, with some information on this one. Some good stuff there, I believe. So it's more information. Not only will they make sure you get started right, like I said, they have a very helpful compliance department that will continue to assist you in getting your paperwork right and answering your questions even after you start up. All right. So this is a good link from the FMCSA to get yourself more familiar with the process. So the FMCSA, straight from the federal government, this is their checklist of how to get started if you are wanting to do this list on your own. So what we're about to do now is I'm going to go into each one of those steps into more detail, so it's not just a flyby explanation, so you can know more so of what's going on. All right. So the first one is having an LLC or DBA. Having an LLC or DBA will make this whole process much smoother and much more professional. Having an LLC or DBA, which is doing business as, if you're not already knowing, will let you apply for an EIN number, which is needed in the next step. But in many cases, you could probably get by with just a social security number, but you probably don't want to be giving that number to everybody you're doing business with. So an EIN number is more convenient in that regard. But this EIN number is what you'll give brokerages in the form of a W-9 for tax purposes. Yeah, for taxes too. So when you link up with a new company and you're doing your carrier packet and they want your W-9, you'll have your EIN on it instead of your social. Right? So that's what it says here. Having your EIN number means you don't have to give everybody your social on your W-9. And if you're valuing your privacy and your identity and all that good stuff, like a lot of us do, having an EIN number is the way to go. If you go the LLC route, you'll need to get and keep a copy of what's called your Articles of Organization, which will show your state's official seal, recognizing you as a business. Right? It just says like State of Louisiana, then the Secretary of State's name, then it says we recognize, XYZ Trucking as those are your Articles of Organization. So once you file for your LLC, which is real simple to do yourself at your state website, you just appoint yourself as a registered agent. Then once you do it, once you file it, they'll have like a PDF file with your Articles of Organization. You just save them and print it out if you want to. I like to print one out and put like one of these like what you would hang like a diploma in, and I'll put it on my wall. But despite popular belief, having an LLC will not completely protect your assets, unfortunately. At least from what it seems like with my experience in this subject over and over again throughout the years. I've had my own LLC for 10 years, stuff like that. But as far as being the driver, let me just read. Before I go on, it sounded like I'm talking down on having an LLC. I'm not, because I have an LLC and operate as LLC. I've had an LLC for close to 10 years. But the LLC protects the business, but not the driver. Well, it protects the owner of the business's personal assets, but not the driver. So in the case of a lawsuit, like if we're the driver, right? We're the owner operator. So XYZ Trucking gets sued, and so you're the owner of XYZ Trucking, so you can't come for your house and your personal assets when XYZ Trucking is getting sued. But what if you're also the driver? Now you're the driver, John Doe, John Smith, John Q, Johnny John. We are the driver. So now we're getting sued personally. So now the company's getting sued and personal. So it's just something to keep in mind. That LLC's now like, oh, I'm just like super protected. That's only if you're not the driver. Now, if you're the driver, we still have, we still can get sued. So it's just something to keep in mind and just keep it tight. Don't let it worry us or scare us, none of that, but it's just something to know. Okay. The only way an LLC will really protect your personal assets is if you hired on drivers or owner operators. And in this case, the company and your driver will be sued, but not you personally. So be careful out here. Remember, like I said in my How to Drive as an Owner Operator chapter, just take your time, do what you can to not be in a rush, slow down, and create your bubble of space where it's just you doing your thing. And we'll eliminate a lot of that, almost 99.9999% of that. All right. Next is the EIN number, which is Employee Identification Number. That's what it stands for, Employer Identification Number. Essentially, it's just a social security number for our business. After establishing your LLC and DBA in your home state, your domicile state, you can apply for your EIN number right here. Here's the link. Go straight in there, and it's super simple. And there's no need to pay anyone to do this step, okay? This is about as easy as it gets. Just log in, fill out the form, and now you get an instant PDF file that you can save that will have your EIN number in it. So make sure to save this PDF file, and this is the same form that banks will want to see to prove your standing with the IRS. Like if you're going to get like a business line of credit, banks, and start up a business bank account, they're going to want to see your EIN number issued by the IRS, and this form is the one. So just make sure to save it, but super simple. So we'll just blow right past the EIN number and get straight into this, what's called the OP1 application. And like I said, I'm breaking these down so you can see more so what's in each one. But like I paid OIDA to do this in the beginning. All right. So let's just read. This is also known as the authority application. So this is the original application. OP1 is the application. This is just a basic application that you can do yourself or will be filed by OIDA if you buy their service. Here's the link to do it. Right here, this FMCSA form OP1. The application itself is at the bottom. If you are filing yourself, this will be the place where you pay your $300 for your DOT number. There is a mandatory 10 business day dispute period that occurs after your application is posted to the Federal Register, in which anyone can protest your authority. This is just like some old stuff they do ever since deregulation, where somebody can say oh no, I want to dispute that he can't become a trucking company because everything used to be like set routes back in the day, like back before deregulation. That where people were only allowed to start a trucking company up if you already had customers and certain freight lanes and routes. I still get bits and pieces of information from the elders that were living in that time, but yeah, it was way different in before deregulation. Even though we ended up getting really regulated with CSA 10, we went from deregulation to overregulation in different departments, but the ability to start your own company was way more difficult back in the day. Once the 10 days are up, you'll need to post proof of insurance in your BOC3 form, which assigns an agent or a business in all 50 states to receive and forward legal documents on your behalf. So that's all the BOC3 is. We'll talk about it in a sec, but it's a real simple form that OIDA did mine. So if somebody in New Mexico has a problem with me and my trucking company, it'll get mailed to this person. To receive a notice from New Mexico, and then they'll send it to me. It's like some weird smoke and mirror thing, but yeah, that's it's one person in each 50 states that receives legal documents and forwards document on your behalf. All right. So after this 10 day period of contesting, you'll be good to go with proceeding in the process, which is what we'll do next. MCS 150. This will be covered if you pay someone like OIDA to file for you. This is what the FMCSA says about the MCS 150. You can click on this link to just to get an explanation of it straight from FMCSA. They say this form can only be used to update a carrier and not for initial registration, and that the UCS system must be used. So OIDA will know if you give them a call, but the MCS 150 is just basically a form that updates the FMCSA once every 2 years or so with an address and a phone number. That's all it is. It's just updating the federal system about where your address is and what your phone number is. To me, it's kind of a scam, because it costs $100 just to convenience them with an update. Like, we had to pay them to update them with more information. But hey, let's not get into what's really what. No, we're always going to talk about what's really what. But I digress. Nonetheless, it's a necessary part of having your own authority, having our own authority. Okay, this MCS 150 is also what's called a biannual update. So whenever you hear this biannual update, bi meaning 2. Every 2 years we do our form. And you'll get emails all the time. Once you really get into doing this, you'll get emails because your business email becomes public information. So sometimes it's okay to set up 2 different emails. One you give the FMCSA, and the one that you actually do your day-to-day operations on. Because the one email you give to the FMCSA, people have this information. So whenever it gets time to do your biannual update, you'll probably get a ton of emails saying, hey, your biannual update's about to be due, or it's overdue and we need to fix it for you and stuff. Just make sure when those emails come, if it seems like an urgent message, just to make sure to see where it's coming from and make sure it's coming from a .gov. If it's not coming from the government, it's just a third party wanting to sell you on a service. So keep that in mind, because you'll be getting those as you go through time with ownership in your own motor carrier like this. Okay, everybody has a different time that they are supposed to do update for this biannual update depending on their DOT number. If you're second, so they do it all with the second to last number of your DOT number. So if your DOT number is, okay, cool, I'll do an example right here. So if the second to your last digit of your DOT number is odd, then you file on odd years. If it's even, then you file on even years. Whatever your last number is on your DOT number, that's the month of what you file. So for example, if your DOT number is 3098608, you're just looking at the last 2 letters. So you will file on an even number year. So you'll file on 2020, then you'll file in 2022, then you'll file in 2024. In a year, even number year. Then since the last number is 8, you'll file on the 8th month which is August, right? So every year, 2020, 2022, 2024 in August, you'll have this biannual update that's due, where you'll go log into their stuff up here and pay them their $100 just to update them with your address. All right, one of those pay to piper. Next, we got DOT number. And just ignore these ones over here. It was like some weird formatting stuff when I was building the book, but I didn't think it took away too much. And it was just, it was quite a challenge putting all this together. But we got our DOT number next. Your DOT number will be issued to you after your OP1 is accepted. Doesn't mean you're actively rolling, but you will have a DOT number. So it'd be pretty cool. So you could even still be like leased at Landstar at this point, or leased to your company. You already have your new DOT number. You're just not active yet. So it'd be pretty cool. You once your 10-day period goes up, and you'll have your own DOT number, so you'll already know what your DOT number is, and your MC number as well. All right, so that's the next. Your MC number will be issued to you after your OP1 is accepted. BOC3, which we just mentioned earlier, this is the designation of agents for service of process. All that with blanket of coverage. Once your 10 days of contesting are up, you must show your BOC3. Your BOC3 is just a form that shows you your processing agents from each state who will forward your legal documents if the situation requires it. If you are an OIDA member, they will file it for free for you. And this is also part of the OIDA authority package. Next is our insurance, $1 million primary liability, and $100,000 cargo insurance. This level of primary liability insurance is required of all carriers. Okay, getting competitive prices on insurance is a big part of making the transition into having your own authority. Some of the popular insurance companies include OIDA, Progressive, Northland, Berkshire Hathaway, and Great West. I personally use OIDA, as you know by now. There are a lot of factors that go into how much your insurance will cost, which is like your age, your years of driving experience, your company's address, which what they call, where do you garage your truck, domicile location. That actually is one of the biggest factors of, where you live, which is pretty crazy because most of the time we're over the road anyway, so it doesn't matter. But that's the game. That's the game they play. The radius of the other factors like the radius of how far you go out in the list of commodities that you're going to haul. Now, I'm not advising you to lie, but don't talk too much. Like, don't give them too much information when it comes to insurance. When you're on the phone with your insurance agent, just put that confidence into your agent and just say less. Don't give them too much information, because the more information you give, the more they have to work up a higher insurance bill. You want to present yourself as a low liability. You're a low risk, just out here handling your trucking business, smooth and cool. That's what it's all about. People who are considered a lower liability, like less likely to get into an accident, will pay less in insurance because they are considered less of a risk. That's how it goes. That's the game. That's why something as little as your LLC's address can add or take away thousands of dollars from your yearly bill. A guy with his company address in New York City is going to have a higher premium than someone in Tupelo, Mississippi. The insurance company will consider Mississippi address a lower risk, even though the truck is over the road 90% of the time, potentially. Doesn't matter. They're just like, okay, Tupelo, Mississippi, safe. New York City, not safe. Or they're looking at New York City, high probability of auto fraud and people like causing accidents to get fraud. Tupelo, Mississippi, less. But the funny thing is, somebody could be based in Tupelo, Mississippi and spend 90% of the time in New York City, and the insurance company would never know. It's pretty the ways of the old. It's pretty foolish. When it comes to commodities, just do what you can to not claim weird things like oil field equipment if you're not hauling straight out into the oil fields. You see what I'm saying? Like, as a flatbed, you can pick up like some pumps and stuff like that. But what they're talking about is, are you actually out there in an oil field just like on the regular? And if you say yes, the more commodities like this that you claim, your rate can go up. But do claim what you're going to haul, but just keep this in mind. Like, that's a perfect example. I claimed oil fields in the beginning because I didn't want to be like, I don't want to like be lying because I haul oil field stuff. But eventually I realized that it's like, no, that's for like actually going out into like the oil fields like on a consistent basis and stuff like that. So I don't claim it. Now, the more you owe on your truck and trailer, the more you will pay in the physical damage insurance side of things, right? Because, if you're still having a truck note, the insurance company wants you to have gap coverage and physical damage insurance on how much you owe. So that's one thing to keep in mind. When you own outright, your truck and trailer outright, you don't even have to carry physical damage insurance if you don't want to. If you have like an emissions truck, $20,000 emissions truck, and the book values on it is not what they're going to give you. It could be in a span of 4 years, if you're spending like $200 or $300 a month. Let's just say that. Let me reverse engineer real quick. I'll pull out the calculator. Let's just say your truck is worth $10,000 because it's a pre-emissions truck. And they're not going to look into that it's got a great motor and it's a money maker and the upgrades that you put on it. They're just gonna be like, the market value of this truck is $10,000 or less. So we're not gonna pay out more than $10,000. So let's just say you're paying $220 a month for physical damage. That means in 45 months, you will have already paid $10,000. So let's divide that by 12. So if you don't make a claim in 3.7 years, in less than 4 years, you have already made your money back. So if you continue to pay insurance after 4 years, you're actually paying more money to the insurance company than they will ever give you back in the case of a total loss. So that's something to keep in mind too. When you do own your equipment outright, that's your choice. to whether you want to have physical damage or not. I understand if your truck does a valuation of like 80K or something like that, then maybe it makes more sense. You want to keep on paying. But in this math problem I just showed you, that in 4 years at 10K you're going to be paying more in insurance than you will ever get back in the case of a total loss. Now, the newer your authority is, chances are the more you'll pay in insurance. Prepare to see numbers in the 10K to 25K a year price range for your insurance needs. So it does pay to shop around. At least get quotes from like 2 to 3 places at least probably 3 places. If you're very young, which they consider 21 to 27 years old, give or take, your company is based in a state that has high like auto claims, like I said, like people like doing auto claims and making fake wrecks and stuff, and you're a new company, there's not much you can do to get your insurance costs down. It just is what it is. Like that was my situation coming in. Louisiana is a state that has high claims. I'm a brand new company, fresh, active authority, and I'm in this young age group here when I first started. So there's nothing I could really do. But still had pretty competitive price rates because at least I had a ton of driving experience. I already had more than like 6-7 years driving experience, but 5 or 6 years driving experience by that point. So you have to make a decision. Do you bite the bullet and pay a little bit higher for insurance costs right now, so you can get some age on your active authority, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and prove and get your age, also your physical age of our personal age, or do you just stay leased onto a good company? This will be your decision, and that's why I'm exposing you to all this now, so to help in your decision making process. These questions will be best answered not by emotion, but by doing the math. Take your quoted insurance cost and divide it by 12. This is how much your insurance will cost you every month, right? So let's just say insurance is $15,000 a year. We divide it by 12, it's going to be $1,250. So it's going to be $1,250 for the insurance. Now divide that number by 4 to see what it would cost per week. So in this case, $312 per week for insurance. We're not paying weekly, we're paying only once a month, but we want to see what it costs us per week. Now take the gross number you make now while leasing to a company and multiply it by your company's percentage. At Landstar it was 35%. So take the gross number and times it by 0.35. Make sure to put the decimal first. So times it by 0.35. And here in the green we're going to work an example. So let's say $2,000 gross times 0.35 is $700. So Landstar just made $700 off this case because we're using Landstar is 35%. They take 35%. So let's just say $700. Boom, they took that right off the top. That means you're giving $700 to that company for all of its perks. You could almost say that's the same as paying $2,800 a month, because we take that same $700 and we times it by 4. We're going to get $2,800. And so we take that same $2,800 now and times that by 12, for each month of the year, and that's going to be $33,600. So even if your insurance was $20,000 a year, you hypothetically save $13K, right? Because 33,000 minus out 20K, because if you're already giving up 33,000, let's subtract 20,000 out of that, and the difference is 13K. So now you're giving up $13,000 less. So you're keeping $13,000 more by paying for your own insurance and leaving the company at that same $2,000. Because when you make $2,000 each time, you're not giving up $700. And if you give up $700 every time, let's just say 4 times a month, 12 times a year, which is virtually impossible to work all year, but just for mathematical purposes, 704 times would be 2,800. 2,800 12 times would be 33,000. So that $700 cut that they take out each week turns into 33,600 for the year. So if they tell you that your insurance is going to be 20K, then it's still $13,000 less. Now, we're about to get a little bit deeper, because that 13K, it's not a clean 13K yet, but it's 13K less. So let's keep it moving. But there are there are more factors like trailer rental. Is it free at your company? If it is, then that's an expense you'll have to tack onto your 13K that you're saving. So let's just say you leave and you don't have a trailer. Now you're going to be paying $500 a month for trailer rental. 500 or to own 500 times 12 is 6,000. So now you just bit into that 13,000 that you saved by having your own authority. So now it's more like 7K. And just add up the little perks and make sure you don't leave anything out. You just don't want to, get excited off emotion and just run out here with big eyes and realize you're not saving as much money as you thought by making the transition. Because maybe you forgot to add things like trailer rental. If your company was paying for your tolls, what type of field discounts you were getting. But we don't have to really worry about that now because we got NASDAQ. Your type of national tire discounts you were getting, and those different things into the math. But the main thing being like insurance, trailer rental, field discounts, tire discounts. I pay right at $12K a year for insurance. So $1,000 a month. But really it's about $1,200 a month because it's like I also pay for occupational accident insurance and general liability. But I think recently I took my general liability off. So I think anything in that $7,000 to $12,000 a year for insurance is great. That's what there's some old school guys out here that they're only paying like $7,000 a year. That's what I want. I'm working my way down there. I'm still around 12, but 12 to 13ish. But anywhere in that 12 to 15K is decent. 15,000 to 20,000 a year is pushing it, but it's doable. 20,000 to 25,000 per year is really pushing it. And anything past 25K a year, I think is just crazy. Pretty damn. We're doing my best not to cuss on these. Pretty dang crazy. Okay. And it's just really not sustainable unless you're really out here on the road 24/7 and you don't have big truck notes, house notes, and stuff at home that we talked about in home life and budgeting. All right, see how it's all fitting together as one big picture. Now we know that it's a little different for each person, but why certain things work for some and not for others, and vice versa. Because it has all to do with all these elements we've been discussing, all the way back to our home life and budgeting. If you're in the early stages of plotting how to get your own authority, start now by having a great driving record, right? Just keep your driving record well, no moving violations. Stay out of trouble, don't speed, don't get moving violations, right? Like I just said, and consider setting up your LLC in a state that carries lower premiums. So if you have an option between like Louisiana, Mississippi, and New York, because you have family members in these three places, then maybe you need to set your LLC up in Mississippi, so that way your insurance rates will be lower. And then you can call around and ask maybe OIDA and stuff. Some of these insurance companies, they'll play games like, no, that doesn't matter, but it does. So you have to do what you can to get information out of them. If you're like, hey, I can set up my company in this state or this state or this state, which one will I have a better premium? Or maybe you can even ask them, just say which state is the lowest right now. I'm gonna move there. It's up to you. Here's an interesting article on Progressive's website. No, it's not Progressive's website, but it was Progressive Insurance's average per year insurance rates per state. So it's a little article. I don't know how true it is, but maybe there's something to it. But there's definitely something to the fact that there's different rates for different states and addresses. So for the record, I'm in Louisiana, and according to this article, I would save a ton of money if I were to domicile next door in Mississippi. So, hello Vicksburg. I'm moving to Vicksburg. Nah. But another thing to remember is just carry the insurances you need. If your state doesn't require workman's comp, then go for occupational accident insurance instead. It's way cheaper. If you pay down your truck from 60K to 30K, go back to your insurance company and reinsure the physical damage for 30K instead of 60K, so you're not paying, you might save $50 a month or $75 a month, and it'll add up. So you can go back. You see what I'm saying? If you owe 60K in your truck when you first got your truck and you got physical damage on 60K, a year goes by, now you got it down to 50K or 40K. Now go back to your insurance company and be like, hey, I want to readjust my plan to only pay for physical damage for what I owe, which is 50K now or 30K, and you can start to like lower down your physical damage cost by doing that some. If you own your truck outright, like I mentioned earlier, you don't have to carry physical damage at all if you don't want to. You have to weigh the risk versus reward. If you have an old pre-emissions truck, chances are in a complete loss, the insurance company won't pay much more than 10K, like we already did the math on that. They're going to pay out what the market value of the truck is. So say it's a 99 Kenworth T2000 model. You have is going, say if you have a 99, well, say a 99 T2000, let's just say it's going for 15K on the market. They'll probably only want it to pay about 10,000 for it. So why insure it for more than what they're willing to pay out in the case of a total loss? It doesn't make sense. Well, oh no, let's just say like, yeah, so if it's going for like 15K on the market or like 25K in the market, but they'll probably insure it for less. You don't want to insure it for more than what they're going to pay out for, right? Just because you can have a $10,000 truck and put $100,000 worth of insurance on it doesn't mean they're going to pay you out $100,000 when it totals. If it's a total loss, they're just going to pay out the 10K. So don't pay for coverages more, but they'll gladly give you a bigger program and plan and charge you more, but it doesn't mean it's going to cover. Here's another thing to consider too, like I just mentioned. If your physical damage cost is $200 a month, in 4 years you will have paid out 10K. So every dollar you spend past the 4-year mark, you are actually paying more money than you will ever get back. If you own a truck with a 10K market value in this example. When you look at it from this perspective, it almost makes more sense to not carry physical damage and to self-insure. Like what a lot of the big companies do is they self-insure. If you make it past 4 years, you broke even and have kept more money in your pocket than the insurance company would have ever paid out. So at 4 years, you would have already gave them $10,000. So at that point, at 4 years, you broke even. That's $10,000 you didn't give away, and it'd be more than what you would be paying more than what they would ever be able to give you anyways. So you're in the green from that point on. So just save your money right, as always, right, and invest your money, consciously like this. I'm not telling you to not carry physical damage, but just I'm showing you this too so you can be aware of it. A lot of people are paying more than they will ever get back in the case of a claim. Many people also don't readjust their truck value as they pay it down. So they continue to pay physical damage on a rate that the insurance company wouldn't even pay in the case of a claim, like we just said, right? If it's beyond market value, 100K insurance plan on a 50K truck, they're not going to pay 100K. If you're still making payments on your truck, only pay physical damage on what you owe, my friend. Cool. This is all the bank or lending company wants. Every 3 to 6 months, call back your insurance company and lower the value amount down that you're paying on for physical damage. If you now owe 35K, then tell them you want to lower your physical damage coverage to 35K, and you will be just fine with your lender. They just want you to have coverage on the amount that you owe. It should save you a few bucks each time you lower it down, okay? Commercial general liability is an insurance not necessary. This is whenever you hear like general liability based, against like liability, right? So we got what we got right here, which is, golly, we've been talking about insurance. We got a primary liability and general liability. Okay, that's how it switches. What we just talked about was a little bit of physical damage stuff, but primary liability. So, but what another available insurance is what's called general liability. And let me get back to that. Primary and general. So commercial general liability is an insurance not necessary, but a few customers and brokers may require it. I have a $1 million commercial general liability plan that costs about $50 a month. It's not too crazy. You can have it if you want it. This got me a few loads that I wouldn't have got, but like I said, at the point of this recording, I think I let it go. I wasn't using it enough. I think it might even be a little less, but that's how cheap it is. that I really don't keep up with it. But not saying that's something to imitate. But the reason some brokerages want it is because their shipper requires it. This insurance is to help cover the cost if something on the shipper's property was to be damaged while out there trucking. Like, corner of the building gets hit or something, damage on the property, it'll be covered. So, but OIDA does offer this coverage. And if you decide later that you want it, and it's easy to add onto your policy. Another insurance is passenger accident insurance. This is optional, but like $17 a month or so. If you ride with a passenger, then maybe this is something you can consider. OIDA offers this coverage even if you're leased onto a company. So if you're leased on the Landstar and you want to have, your rider, you can have that passenger accident policy. I think Landstar required it actually. Some companies may require, but that's another available insurance there. Passenger accident. So next we got our UCR. Your UCR can be filed here. Here's the link to it right here. Boom, boom, in orange on the ebook. The UCR is just basically a registration system that has like I said, a money grab that the FMCSA has set up to keep track of who's registered or not for each new coming year, right? You would think that we'd already be registered with 2290 and IRP and IFTA, but we need another thing to make sure that you're registered. You must renew it every year around December to January. Some years you can renew it earlier, and some years you have to wait until they decide on what the next price is going to be. It goes up and down like $5 and stuff. So sometimes they might not even know until like February or like March of, what the price is going to be before they open back enrollment. Just be aware that towards the end of the year that you need to renew soon. Go to the website above and see if they set the price yet. If they have, you can now go ahead and buy. After you pay, just save the the proof of payment. It says you're registered now and all that, and print the new one out and keep it in your permit book if you want. It's nice to almost nobody ever checks it. But say in the beginning of the year, maybe they want to run like a small campaign and pull people in to check it. You'll have yours already printed out. Should be in their digital system though. There's no need to hire a company to do this for you. Maybe in the beginning it's okay if you go through OIDA to let them do it. This UCR to set it up or whatever, but to renew it is super easy. You just go into their website, fill in the information, pay the fee. The fee is usually around $75. Every year it goes up and down a little bit, and that's that. I mean, there's nothing to it. There's no reason to pay somebody to go do that, especially once it's already set up. So the next part of the step would be to have a paid $22.90 heavy highway tax. If you've already been leased to a company, you should already know what this is. This is the $550 tax that we graciously pay the government to drive on the interstates. I guess this money is supposed to get redistributed to the states for infrastructure on the interstate, repair. So if you have a current 2290, you have to have a current 2290 in order to file for your IRP base plates. Once you have your 2290, make sure you print out the stamped version and keep it in your permit book. I like to use this company right here, Express Truck Tax, e-file form 2290, right here. Express Truck Tax. They got an app, Google Play and Apple. I've used them for years, and they save the information, so when it comes time to pay again, you just basically click on what's already been done, and you just update it, pay. You don't have to put your VIN number in and do all that again. Then they email you right back, or you download it from them. One that has like a watermark on it saying, accepted by the IRS, and at that point it's legit. IRP is the next after, because you have to have your 2290 first to get your IRP. So this is your truck registration that you file and pay within your state. And of course, this is your license plate, your cab car, base plates, and etc., like we said earlier. And IRP stands for International Registration Plan. This will be something that you do at your state level. And OIDA is not going to be able to do this for you. This is something that you do, once they set these things up for you and you get your 2290, now you have enough done where you can go get your IRP, and you do this yourself at the state level. This process can be pretty annoying, and you have to repeat it every year to renew. But like I said, post-COVID, they've made it, my state has made it easier to do it on the internet, so I'm assuming more states are probably doing the same. But when you go to renew, it won't be as annoying as the initial setup. So to make sure this process goes smoothly, just go to your state's website and follow their checklist. They should have a checklist, right? Make sure you get everything in this checklist ready to present. Come prepared. Have everything inside of a folder, like a manila type folder, and bring your cash to the DMV. Choose a DMV that is familiar with commercial vehicles and IRP. Your original startup cost will probably be somewhere in that $1,200 to $2,200 range, give or take. This plate/registration will be good for 1 year. Having your own plate is a nice deal, though. There's a pride factor in this, that you get your own license plate from your state. You're not like, even when you're leased to like Landstar, a lot of time, or leased to companies, you'll have like an Illinois license plate from them or whatever. So it's cool. It's a pride factor in having your own plate. Even if you're leased onto a company, having your own plates, there's a pride factor in that. And it gives you more assurance when it comes to always being able to move, even if the company goes under or if there's a termination of lease. I pay right around $1,600 to $2,000 per year to renew my plates. I do it every February. Here's an example of the checklist here in Louisiana. So you can click this link to get an idea of like what it looks like, the checklist of what you need to bring with you to be prepared, because it's probably like 5 to 10 things come in there, like last year's mileage and stuff like that. And if you don't have miles, you estimate. But that way, when the person's on the other side of the counter, like, let me see this, you just open your folder, pass it out, and things will just go smoothly. And like, all right, this is what you owe. Put the cash down, done. So usually I just bring enough cash. I'll bring like $2,000 in $100 bills. Then I'll just have like a 50 and some, in some 20s, like some 5s and some 1s or whatever, and just and just pay. But it's got easier. Like this recent time I did it, I think I just paid with my debit card. Yeah. So, but at one point you had to have exact change. It was pretty wild. Going in there with all the cash, just like a different style bills, so you can get like if it's 2,110 and 10 cents, that you would have had the 100 and the 10 and the 10 cents, and they're like, no, we don't have. It was. Yeah, but I think it's getting to where these payments can be processed more like in a digital fashion now, without that just exact change. You gotta have exact. I was like, golly, I don't know what it's gonna cost yet. Like you don't know what it's gonna cost yet until you go in, but we gotta have exact change. So once you have your, once you accomplish that step and get your license plate, your base plate, and we can get into like going ahead and getting enrolled into a drug testing consortium. Every carrier who operates a truck over 26,000 pounds must be enrolled in a random drug testing consortium. The service will cost around $125 a year. I use CMCI, which is I clicked the link. It's a CMCI, which is a branch of OIDA. Here's their website, and here's the link to it right here. NASTEC also offers a good drug testing program. Be careful to not let your membership expire. There can be steep fines as much as $1,000 a day for not being enrolled in a drug testing consortium. So combat this by making a notification in your phone or a month or so before your bill is due, or see if your provider will enroll you in auto pay to ensure your coverage doesn't lapse. I don't know why, but CMCI won't do auto pay, so I usually just right around December or something, I'll just pay them early for the next year so I don't forget. The FMCSA takes drug testing very serious, and you will have to run a pre-employment drug testing test on yourself and store it in your driver file. So we'll talk about this driver file a little bit more. More here in just a little bit, but through this drug testing consortium and stuff, you will go give yourself a pre-employment drug test before you hire yourself to be a driver, so to speak. So next is this is a 2020 thing. It went really more so into emotion. Excuse me, a 2021. It really went into emotion. But this be enrolled in the FMCSA drug testing clearinghouse. Okay. It is mandatory to be enrolled in this government database from the year 2021 and on. This is just a database to keep up with failed drug tests. The failed drug test will follow the driver from company to company. Even as an independent carrier, you still have to register, unfortunately. It's like $1.25 to run the report and stuff. It's super cheap. It's just, a little, it's just a little inconvenient to set up at first and stuff like that. But once you're in, it's all good. You pay $1.25 to buy a credit to run a report on yourself, and that's that. Now, if you're, getting into like hiring drivers and expanding your fleet over time, then, you'll be, doing this more so on all your drivers, just like how you did on your original driver file. Next, you will need an IRP account, account number before getting approved for an IFTA. So remember this: before you can get your IFTA, you have to do it in this order. Like I'm telling you, you have to do your IRP first, because you need an IRP account number before you can get approved for an IFTA account. No big deal. It's just you got to do it in order. So this is another step that will be done at your state level. So you got to go to your state's website. The one that runs their IFTA program, just Louisiana pay IFTA tax or IFTA, and just make sure you're on a .gov site and find out where it's done. I think ours is done on Department of Revenue website. But inside this website, see what the checklist of things that you'll need to apply. You should be able to apply straight through their website. This IFTA account is what you'll be using to keep up with your state fuel taxes. You must file, these before the end of the month, following each 3-month quarter. Sounds a little tricky, but it's not. For example, January, February, March. So once March ends, you'll send your IFTA report in by the end of April. You got 1 month after that third month ends. So the next one would be April, May, June. So once June ends, you'll have until the end of July to get it in. Vice versa. All the way down to October, November, December. Then once December finishes, you'll have until the end of January to get it in. Filing IFTA is fairly easy and quick, especially now with doing it digital, like I mentioned with Keep Trucking. You can have your miles, or even in a lot of the GPSs, the Garmin's and stuff, you can set it up where it'll keep track of your IFTA miles per state, so you don't have to do it by hand. You just pull the report from your GPS or your ELD. Then you use, like in our case, what I'm suggesting with NASDAQ, you just pull up your Fleet One account at NASDAQ and you can run an IFTA report on all the gallons you bought in each state. Then you can plug it into your state's website and finish IFTA pretty quickly, way quicker than doing it the old school way on paper, which I have a video on my YouTube about doing it on the old school way on paper. There's really no reason to pay someone to do this nowadays, because most of the states have digital filing that do the math for you. And I have a whole IFTA section dedicated, within this booking program. So we'll talk about this some more, so not to leave you hanging on that, okay? And that's my goal with a lot of this. I just don't want to leave you hanging on stuff. That's why we got a lot of this information. It's seems like a lot, but I just don't want to leave you hanging. There's always, you're gonna learn by experience. But when you get to certain points, you'll know it's here. You can come back. Because it's not like I just didn't skim it. I went into the details of it. So the more and more you get experience, the more, it'll be here, and you'll already have pre-exposure to it. Because I just don't want, over the years I bought educational programs and learned into things, and, bought into books and stuff, and it's just like I learned what I need to learn, but at certain parts it would leave me hanging, and I'm like, dang, like that's not as easy for me as it is for you. Like, can you please tell me some more and stuff like that? So I wanted to make sure that would happen very little, if not any, throughout H2ST. Okay. So here's the website links for Kentucky, New Mexico, and New York. Oh, sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. Weight distance permits. So like I mentioned earlier, separate weight distance permits will be needed for the state of New York, New Mexico, Kentucky, and Oregon. Requires their own permit and a bond if you decide to operate up there. You must have an IRP account before applying to these permits as well. So this is, you see how we're going in order right now. So at this point, you already have your IRP account. Each of these states require their own account and quarterly filing. So the same time that you do IFTA, you would do it for these. They charge an additional fee per mile for traveling through their state. How nice, right? Not really, but the Kentucky tax ends up costing me the most, but the other ones are pretty small. Here's the link to each state's website. Here's Kentucky's portal, New Mexico's portal, and New York's portal. Make sure you keep all your passwords in a place where you can access them, and you can always save the passwords in your phone's memory, like how the iPhone lets you, and etc., or your laptop and computer, or write them down and stuff like that. So that way, whenever you go to do IFTA, you can log into these three without like, oh geez, like resetting passwords and being that type of inconvenience. Next, we got our New York HUT sticker. This is a sticker you'll need on your truck to legally go in and out of New York. You have to get your New York HUT sticker on what's called New York's Oscar website. Like Oscar is an acronym for something. And here's the link to it. So create an account here to apply and pay your fee. It's not much money. It's less than $50, probably even less than that. But the stickers are good for like 3 years. At the time of this writing, I hadn't been renewing it because I wasn't really going to New York, but I still go up to New York, so I got back into renewing it. So here's just an awareness warning here. Just be aware. This whole process will take about 1 to 2 months, give or take. You got the 10-day contest period, securing your insurance, getting your IRP, getting your IFTA decals, because even after you get your account, you got to wait for them to get mailed to you, your decals, getting your pre-employment drug test, setting up your drug testing consortium, which is simple to do that part, but it's got to get done, and getting the required paperwork back for that, setting up your accounts with New Mexico, New York, and Kentucky if you need to, getting your electronic log system going, setting up your driver's file, and writing your company policies, which company policies is going to be a breeze for you because you bought into the bundle. So now you have access to the company policy templates that I made. That'll speed that process way up. During the beginning of this time, you can still work for another carrier, but eventually you will need to come off the road to do your driver file, company policy, IRP, drug testing, and etc. This is the part. This part took about a month for me. I followed to the T, the checklist that OIDA gave me. You have to write your company policies on a few topics like safety, drug, alcohol, and etc. You have to pull your own driving record. You have to show and make proof of contact to your previous employers for your driving history and etc. There's a lot of little things like this that can be quite time consuming. That one's a little frustrating, but in your driver file, that's one of the, and OIDA will show you this too with the, checklist and stuff. And JJ Keller actually has a pretty cool little driver file checklist that that's who I bought mine from, and I just followed their steps. But you have to show and make proof of contact to your previous employers. You have to reach out for a driving record on this program called 10 Street. It's all in the literature they give you. It's just little things like that. Just be aware and be prepared that you might not be making money for about a month while you're doing this part of it. You could work up to your company all the way up to the point to where you need to get your IRP and stuff. Then it's okay, it's time to come off road now. You might even can stay leased to them and haul a couple loads while you're doing it, but if you really focusing on it, especially since you don't have to write the company policy templates, you could probably knock it out in maybe 2 weeks. If you really stick to it, but you're still waiting on the decals to come back, so it'll still be about 2 to 4 weeks, but most of it will be probably knocked down in about 2. And let's continue. That's why it took me about a month. There may be services available that will write your name in on their templates for this. Well, see, at the time of writing this, I didn't even know I was going to make the templates, so don't worry about this part. You got the templates already. I did it. I'm not sure because I didn't go through this route I said, but I went and did it myself. I probably could have skipped some of this or did it faster, but I wanted it to be one and done. I wanted to do it right the first time so I can get out here and pass my new safety entrant audit with ease, which I did. And you will too, probably, right? Because pretty simple. We just keep on following this checklist and have our stuff together that I showed you that, what I got checked for. It can seem and feel a little daunting in the beginning, but the good news is once you set all this stuff up and file it in your office, you basically are done with it. You may get called up on some of it during the new insurance safety audit, but pretty much of it you're done with. You still want to do everything that is on OIDA's checklist, just in case. In the worst case scenario, maybe you have to go to court over an accident, lawsuit or something, and they're probably going to review all your books and make sure that you were up to code. So better be safe than sorry and just go ahead and knock it out in the beginning. Expect the best, but plan for the worst and all that good stuff. Keep it moving. So at this point, you're in motion, you're in operation. So basically the only paperwork you will have to do from this point on is just filing your IFTA every quarter. And at the same time you'll do New Mexico, New York, and Kentucky. Then you renew your UCR once a year. You pay your 2290 once a year. You renew your IRP once a year. You get your tractor and trailer DOT inspection once a year. You file your MCS once every 2 years. And then you renew your insurance once a year. You renew your IFTA decals once a year. And then you keep a simple ongoing maintenance log that you keep that maintenance log going throughout the year of like different things you're doing, maintenance on your truck and trailer, and you just stash that in your records. And then you renew your drug testing consortium once a year. And then you pay taxes to the state and the IRS once a year. And unless you're doing estimated tax payments, which is what they prefer, and it's fine and okay. So you see, the only thing that you will do often is IFTA reports, and that's only once every 3 months. Everything else you only do it one time a year. So boom, we just debunked a lot of the there's so much paperwork into having your own authority, and it's just so rough and tough and tough and rough and tough, and there's just so much stuff to do. No, it's just a little bit of, it's just the first hurdle that we got to jump over to get started. That's the paperwork part, and it's not even too crazy. And since you became aware of H2ST and you came through the bundle, you even got a lot of that, a lot of the edge, some of the edge took off by having the company policy templates and having it in an organized fashion and all that of what's going on. But yeah, after all that, we just pretty much debunked it, because after that, like, our main responsibilities, we only do them like once a year. Then the other one, IFTA in New Mexico, New York, and Kentucky, we do that once every 3 months. The rest is just going right back out to booking loads and billing our customers. It's just easy day-to-day paperwork stuff. Rate cons, carrier packs, invoicing. That's it. And we just go book our freights and do our loads. Almost essentially as if we were leased to a company. So now the myth of having your own authority has been broken. The paperwork is really not that serious once you get over the initial hurdle. Once you get over the startup process and paperwork, is pretty much smooth sailing from here. From there, it's just you, your truck, your customers, your money, the open road, maintenance, taxes, and a little bit of working with the state and the FMCSA. Kind of free as a bird at that point. So a lot of people will say, I would get my own authority, but there's just too much paperwork, right? We just said that. But these are usually the same people that fall behind on taxes because they don't keep organized, and a lot of other things in life, all right? This is a business, and business does require paperwork to some degree. We're not going to have to be a full-time accountant and all that, but it's going to require some paperwork a little bit. So don't be intimidated or scared of this paperwork. The expression paperwork makes it seem like there's this never-ending stream of paperwork to fill out and do. But in our case of trucking, it's just not true. I've given up $10,000 a year, upwards of $30,000 plus a year in percentage paid to a carrier just to be leased onto them. This money was to operate under their authority and for them to do all of this paperwork for me. Right? To do these once a year updates and IFTA filings. Does that seem like it's worth $10K to $30K a year to you at this point? Even if you include paid for insurance at Landstar, which was we did at $30K minus $12K, it's still $18K Oh, you minus out the insurance, which is like I'm paying $12K. That's still $18K I paid them to do this simple paperwork. That's a year's salary in food or retail. So we can give ourselves an $18,000 pay raise almost right off the top. Just from what we've been paying in percentages, just to do these couple once a year updates, and then we do our IFTA every 3 months. You know, once we get over that initial hurdle, that's what our reality looks like. Okay. If it does seem worth it to you, then that's fine too. You know, if it seems worth it to pay to stay leased, that's cool. Just know that this math exists, and that this paperwork is not as hard as you may think. But I'll tell you what, once I realized and learned how simple this stuff really is, there was no way I could justify paying upwards of 30K plus per year to maybe do 10 hours worth of work. When we add up this once a year thing, once a year, and our IFTAs, it probably is only about 10 hours per year that we're doing this paperwork. The rest is just whatever, you know, driving, hanging out at home, working on our truck, doing this, that, and the third, hanging out at the shippers and receivers, because whatever, still having our conversation about to head out or whatever. But yeah, but this part of it's 10 hours. In 365 days, about 10 hours worth of work, give or take. But yeah, because to do the IFTA filings takes about 1 hour, and to knock out, you know, New Mexico and New York is about 30 minutes altogether. And to renew our IRP takes about 1 to 2 hours at the DMV. Everything else is done online or over the phone in just minutes. It's really not that complicated. People just have made it complicated because of the unknown. The unknown is complicated, and it's risky because it's unknown. You know, people, and a lot of times people just make it complicated too because they don't want to, they don't want to really tighten up on like certain habits of like organization. You know, just simple organization. We don't have to be like super crazy organized. Just organized enough. So in order to really make it with your own authority, you do got to be organized. You know, like I said, organized enough. You know, be organized from the way you keep your track of your receipts to the way you store your tools. Keep all your permits organized in your permit book. Make it look nice with page dividers and plastic paper protectors. Put your logo on the front of the book. Keep the inside of your truck clean so that you can find everything when you need it. And keep the inside of your truck clean so you don't feel so cluttered and like things are just falling down and just life's falling apart on you and it's so complicated and there's so much to do. A lot of that comes from just keeping our space around us clean so we don't feel cluttered. If you build an environment that feels cluttered, this can lead to business anxiety and feeling overwhelmed, like there's too much going on. So I advise, to keep, to keep clean on that level. You know what I mean? So it just can stay inspired to keep going and not get frustrated. Like, dang, where's this tool at? Can't find it. I'm behind. Now you get frustrated and slamming doors. Next thing you go outside, you bump your arm on something. Now you hurt. You're like, God, all this sucks. And, we don't want to get there, okay? And sometimes we get there because of we're just not being organized. Excuse me. So we can organize your tools. Build your customer with an app that keeps you organized, like QuickBooks. Keep track of all your receipts in an organized way. Organize your business email separate from your personal. Organize your important documents inside subfolders like files on the cloud for Apple. Keep a book with all the part numbers from your truck as you get them. I keep a nice little notebook in my truck. I pay like $20 for a nice one from like Earthbound. And I just, whenever I get new parts, I just write down the part number, what it is, and how much I paid for it. So that way I have a running list. I got like pages and pages of parts numbers now. So when I need something, I can just call it. Hey, you got this AF27604 air filter? Yeah, but I got it right here at $75. I was like, whoa, 75? I was like, that's a $55 air filter. Hold on, let me see what I can do for you. Because it's $55 because everywhere else you get it or you paid it before. So it's a nice book to keep. Organize the apps on your phone so that only the important business apps are on the home page, on the first page or two for quick access. We can organize our thoughts, focusing on what you want and disregarding the negative, entertaining the negative. Organize facts from information, then organize facts into relevant and irrelevant to what you want. Organize the way you look at the load board. I thought I was about to say the way you look. Organize that too, but organize the way you look at the load board. We're going to be talking about how to flip the load board around and be competitive. Organize the way you store your clothes and food on the truck. Keep your wire harnesses and etc. organized on your truck. Zip tie them together and move them out. Move them in a place where they're not going to be all over the place and stuff. Keep your permit book organized with the most requested documents in the front. Because the more organized you are, the more efficient you are, generally speaking. The more organized you are, the less cluttered you feel. The less cluttered you feel, the more free you feel. The more free you feel, the more clear you will see things. The more clear you see things, the less likely you are to make a mistake. The less mistakes you make, the more money and profit you keep. The more money and profit you keep, the more time you will have to do what you love. The more you do what you love, the more you will enjoy life. The more you enjoy life, the higher your quality of life is. The higher your quality of life is, the more you live in positivity and leave negative behind. The more you live in positivity, the more value you bring to yourself and the people in your family in this world. I can go on and on and on, but you see, in a sense, how this all just started with just being organized. Organized, less cluttered. Less cluttered, more feel. More feel, the more clear. The more clear, the better we can see. The less likely to make a mistake. The less mistake, the more money we keep. The more money we keep, the more we have time. You see how that goes? In science, they say two things cannot exist in the same space. There's also an old saying that if you want new and better things in your life, you have to make room for it. You have to make room for what's already there. Has to get rid of. This concept is out with the old, in with the new. If you have too much clutter in life, physically or mentally, spiritually and financially, you are not allowing space for the new and improved version, your new and improved life, new and improved, your improvements to come into your life. You got to get rid of the old stuff for the new stuff to come in. So I implore, I never really used that word, but it felt like the right time to use it. I implore you to do a self-audit on yourself on a constant basis. Just look into what you're thinking, feeling, what you got going on around you, what you can physically see, and just check up on yourself and make sure you're not getting too cluttered. Because this cluttered can go downhill quick and we'll start making mistakes and getting frustrated and all that stuff. If you're holding on to items, thoughts, negative emotions, or anything that no longer serves you, just let it go. Let it go so you can make room for the good stuff, for the positive stuff, right? Let it go so you can welcome in a better reality. Holding on to negative emotion is a very toxic habit and trait that can get you into a world of trouble out here in trucking, in life in general. There's no need for us to hold on to this negativity. I know it's easier said than done, but it does get easier and easier and easier, to just to be conscious, to consciously not choose negative. You have to find your inner peace, okay? You have to do what you can to block out, the outside world and the distractions at times, and you just have to get, really tight with yourself. Love yourself and respect yourself first, before others will even consider it, right? So the more we're loving and respecting ourselves, the more others will continue to consider, hey, maybe we should love and respect this person too. All right. Andrew, what does all this have to do? Well, I think you've been hanging out with me long enough. You know what all this has to do. Practice self-love and self-respect. It takes 21 days to start a new habit. If you don't get the results you want in a couple of days, so what? It's okay. Keep pushing. It takes time. We get caught in the habit of looking for overnight success or overnight, these big, huge gains overnight and all this. But, we just got to stay consistent. You're going to need to be in good mental and physical shape to be competitive and successful in this business. If not, this business can and will wear you out fast. Heck, it even still wears me out sometimes when I allow myself to get a little unorganized and entertain negativity for a little bit too long or something like that. Then next thing you know, I'm like, whoa, this business is wearing me out, man. My back sore. I want to go home and all this, and it's like, but it's probably because I got a little too far out of pocket. So we want to do what we can to keep that from happening. Because if it's starting to wear you out like that, then you may start to not like life as much anymore. And, you know, just look at some of the older drivers out here who let themselves go. You know, they just let themselves go mentally or physically or both. You know, just let themselves get, you know, way out of place physically, mentally just get way like just into this own world, or just like, you know, it's just them and their possessions, and, you know, and just, you know, kind of got just, you know, just let themselves go. But not in a positive way, probably. So practice these positive habits now. I am constantly running a self-audit on myself, constantly on like daily on the daily, basically, really at every moment I am, because I've been doing it for so long. But excuse me. Oh, no wonder why. Hour and 40 minutes straight we've been going, because I do this self-audit on myself constantly, so I can see what I need to improve on, what I need to let go, and what I need to make sure that I'm not holding on, and to make sure I'm not holding on to negative emotion and ideas and stuff like that that are sabotaging my, you know, my creation. You want to be successful financially and be happy at the same time, right? Not just one or the other. You know, you want to, because it's no fun if you just have one or the other. You want to be able to have both. You know, eat your cakes, get your cake so you can eat it too. Each man and woman gets to define what happiness means to them, okay? I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, there's only, you know, this one version of happiness. No, that's not my job to do that. It's not my place. Just to build just to bring the awareness. Because if we're not doing right mentally, you know, and throughout this process, our chances of being successful go way down. Because we start to create this unfavorable world from our mind, because the outside world reflects what we're doing in our own mind. And if our mental's not tight, then our outside world is not getting tight either. We're the cause, and that's the effect, you know. So we have to be right mentally. Each man and woman gets to define what this happiness means to them. But yeah, you know, don't let this business beat you up mentally, which we have to get tough in order for that to happen. You know, mentally tough, spiritually aligned, financially stable, physically fit. All right? Don't let this business beat down your morale. The same zeal and optimism that inspired you to start this should only increase in time. You know, just remember what got you into this. But you must take responsibility for your own mind and emotion, because nobody else can do that for us, okay? Nobody can do that for you. Nobody can do that for me. We have to do it on our own. It's very important. So just remember, we got to be organized mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Those are the 4 elements: mental, physical, spiritual, financial. Don't forget, OIDA is always here to help. So become a member and give their compliance team a call whenever, you know, you need to brush up on what's going on, regulations, different things like that. And don't forget, we also have the internet and the University of YouTube, as I call it. And also, don't forget, you have the bundle. You have the H2ST bundle. So, you know, plenty of resources here in this book that keeps this in this program that's going to continue to keep giving and giving and giving and stand the test of time. Okay. Because, you know, like I said, didn't want to leave you hanging on any of this stuff. So that's why some of these pages and chapters are longer than just like a simple straight to it. Well, or like a simple like flyby. No, because this is simple straight to it, but not like a simple just like flyby, like, you know, 10 steps to greatness. See you tomorrow. You're great. And it's like, no, yeah, you know, like, this is the real deal. These are for the guys who want to actually get in and stay in, and these are for the women who want to get in and stay in and make it happen. Okay, not just 10 steps to start a business and here you go off into the sunset riding on your you know, whatever, you know what I mean. So I think my book will stand the test of time. My program here, not only do I have 10 years of real life experience, it's taken me months to write and design this book, and even, you know, more time now that I decided to put all these video modules together and take it to the next step and move our operation over to Kajabi and build this whole bundle together. But it's all good, you know, it's all good. But just know, even when I first put this book together, it took me months to write this book, and not just months of, I mean, everyday writing. I literally took off 2 or 3 months straight. I didn't haul one load. I sat down. It took me months to write this book all up, and it's not perfect. There's parts that at the time of this writing, I'm going to even improve the book some more before we really start getting these the printed versions out. But took a while because, like I said, I didn't want to sell you short. I didn't want to leave you hanging. I wanted you to get your money's worth, and I wanted you to actually be able to embody all this stuff so you can go out here and crush it. Then maybe one day when you see me at a truck stop, be like, hey man, look, I'm doing this, and the third now. I got my own authority now. I got this going on. Like, check out my truck and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, cool. Happy for you. I want you to win. I want you to have those wins. I want you to have at least 50K in the bank. The more of us that roll like this, the stronger that we all get to be. And the stronger we all get to be, the less that we're at each other like this, and we're at each other like handshake. We're at each other like this. Okay, so it's taken me months to write it. I did not rush any of it. Everything that I felt like I needed to explain in full detail, I did. All my trade secrets that I developed and acquired, I give. There may be a few things I didn't cover or somehow forgot or left out, but this book, in my opinion, is the best vault of extremely usable information. I guess I missed something right there. But, it's just, this program, as far as like, I don't own a fleet. I don't own 10, 20, 50 trucks and making millions of dollars and all this stuff, off my trucking company every year and stuff. But as far as like programs that are available to not just get in the business, but actually have the grit and the tenacity and the know-how to stay in it. Yeah. Like this, I think is, definitely taking the lead on that. So don't feel like you have to go to too many other places after this, because you got pretty much everything you need to know after this. Now the rest of it's just getting out here and doing it. This, boom, yeah, and like I said, this is the most complete source of information when it comes to the trucking business and the mentality and tactics that it takes to become successful. So be confident in the experience that you receive from me is basically what I'm saying here. It's not really to like brag or be like, oh yeah, I got the best and the best and woo. It's just like, no, I just want you to just be very confident in the experience that you're receiving from me, okay? I'm giving you the game, literally, in a big nutshell. So, Rawls's book is a tough contender for sure, and better than mine in some regards, but we deliver our messages in different ways with a different perspective. Plus, I cover the low board side, own authority side, mentality side, budgeting side, etiquette side, and etc. But do make sure to read his book too. He's got a really he gets really technical in different subjects that I only go lightly on. He's super smart and talented when it comes to like complete engine repair, ECM, technology, and more. I still do my taxes the same way that he suggested. His book plus my book will take you very far, promise you. If you implement the material that we give you, and you constantly, work on improving your mental strength and discipline. Because like I said, our outside world is going to reflect what we got going on mentally. So check out rawls.com, and you can click on the tab that says my book, and you can download his book for free, I believe. But he's got some really cool discussions about like tires, and he's got a really good explanation of how the emission systems works, which we covered in maintenance pretty well and already. But he has a really nice explanation of it. I like his his analogies, the way he presents it. I made it very far off the help of Rawls's book. I look back at the pictures of myself when I got my first truck back at 23 years old, and I tell my old self now, only if you I tell my old self then, I'm looking at the guy in the picture, my 23-year-old version of myself. I'm like, only if you knew what you knew now, You know, so many things I would have skipped and avoided and done things differently. But, you know, it's all good. Between Roz and I don't think, well, this part doesn't really matter, but I was just saying nobody has really given away this much information and at this quality and at this price point too, you know. Yeah. I like my price point. Not too expensive, not too cheap. Ton of value, definitely money's worth. So, cause this has been a problem in trucking since forever. You know, nobody wants to give out their true tactics and trade secrets, and for good reason. These trade secrets are blood, sweat, and tears. These trade secrets took initiative to create. These trade secrets don't come easy. I understand why many elders in trucking don't give away their trade secrets, or if they do, they only give you just a little. And that's what I had to do. I had to collect a little bit of trade secrets from everybody out here, out here in my journey. And through trial and error, I've developed my own trade secrets along the way. I don't know what your age is, but if you're very young like I was when I started, you get to be the one who has all this information early on. So please don't sleep on this info, and don't let it go over your head. Let all this stuff, like I say, all the stuff that we've been working through already, like I say, let it get into you. Let it get into you. Let it get into you. And don't let it go over you or around you. Use it, implement it, and catapult yourself into some greatness. All right. Don't make the same mistakes that I did and a lot of us did out here. You know, choose the right truck. Save your money up before getting started. I started so weak with financially. $6,200 down on my truck. I had like $7,000 saved up. After I put my down payment, I only had like $800. That's what I started my company with. And it took me a long time. And for many times I was like one breakdown away from being out of business, one breakdown away, until I started taking all this stuff serious, met Roz, got mentors, and I really started implementing what they were telling me, and I started to pull away way faster, all the way to the point where here I am turning back around and passing the baton back to you, so you can get this and implement it and take off way faster and way more securely, way more where you can count on it with way more certainty. Choose the right truck. Save your money up before getting started. Learn mechanics early on. Invest into tools right away. Develop a winner's mentality. Know what you want. Increase your desire. Become obsessed with what you want in a positive way. Become the master of your own time and reality. Become successful. When you get a chance, read one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Here's an Amazon link to it. I love Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill helped me crack the code into accessing like my subconscious mind and how to really work with God and the universe and you know, the mental to be a co-creator and not just letting life happen to me. You know, how we think, feel, our reality, all in a very major way reflects our mental status and what we take discipline and, you know, and what we believe and how we make ourselves believing in ourselves. Funny right here. Believe in yourself and keep pushing. Right? Don't give up and keep on growing. If you made it this far in my book and program, then I'm definitely proud. You know, especially if you're really taking it to heart and listening. Okay, and thank you too. And I'm happy for you. I'm sure it has took some dedication. You've done the right thing by investing into this bundle, into the H2ST bundle. You're doing the right thing by taking the initiative to self-educate yourself. Okay, that's what we all got to do in any business. I really do this truck driving stuff. I might retire soon, but I've really done this stuff, okay? And continue to do it. So keep it going. You too will get to where you want to be soon enough. All right? I'm still working on myself to get to where I want to be as well. It's always a process of self-education and then implementation, putting it into work. It's always a process of keeping the negative weeds, like we talked about in chapter 2, those negative thoughts, those negative things that pop up in our mind. Keep those weeds up. Keep those weeds out. Pull the weeds. The more you do something, the easier it will get. This is experience, whether it be positive or negative. So keep reaching up, keep controlling yourself. You know what I mean by that, whether it's positive or negative. So the more we do something negative, the easier it will be to do negative stuff too. So we got to be aware of that and not let ourselves slide into negative habits too. Because we do something more often enough, it becomes easy, whether it's positive or negative. So let's be mindful of that and don't accidentally slip into negative habits. Keep reaching up, keep controlling your thoughts, to the best of your ability. Just keep a handle on them, and or at the very least, don't allow negativity to come in. Keep the positive self-talk conversation, with yourself, and always know what you want, and be thankful. Be thankful that you're alive. Be thankful that you have this information now. Be thankful for the big things and also the little things. Having air to breathe. The sun is out today. My stomach is digesting food well. I got clean spring water to drink. It's just the attitude of gratitude is an amazing thing. And right there, show your gratitude by having a great attitude. And it becomes contagious and contagious and contagious, okay? And that's how our mental starts to, that's how our mental reflects the world around us. As we're showing we had this attitude of gratitude, and it's contagious, and it's spreading to this person. Now this person is looking back at you smiling and treating you a little different, and it's really actually a reflection of what you already had going on in your mental that you gave to them, okay? So it's all real, definitely. If you have questions about whatever, just at Andrews Method me, or DM me on Instagram on my Facebook page, and I will answer you if I know the answer. I'll do my best to answer you. Now, of course, I don't know everything, and the more busy my pages get, the harder it will be to respond to everybody, but I will do what I can. I really thank you for investing into yourself by purchasing into my book and program, by getting into this H2ST bundle. The more you learn and do, the more you will be a benefit to yourself and to your family and to others. Just make sure you put in the initiative. Ding, ding. There's the word again. Just make sure you put the initiative in and do your own problem solving first before you, come and want to have questions asked. Okay, do what you can to, find those answers yourself. It's going to be way better that way. Teach a man to fish, he'll have food forever. Give a man a fish, and he'll need food tomorrow. Okay. I don't mind helping, but I don't do much of the spoon feeding as well. Okay, so that's just a little clause, a little aware warning of that, because that's what my whole book and program is for, and my Andrews_method at YouTube. But like I say, some little tiny particulars and different things I might not cover. Excuse me. Then we have different situations going on and stuff. So shoot me a message, and also my email is andrewsmethod2@gmail. And hopefully, if I'm able to get this Kajabi set up the way that I want and that I think I can, I'm gonna have like that open chat group where everybody that's come through H2ST program we can ask each other these questions too. So that's another place where we can ask questions on top of Truckerz Report and Rouse.com. Okay. And if not, you got my contact information. andrewsmethod2@gmail, and my Instagram up here. You can send me a DM. And Facebook, which I don't use much, but I check it every now and then. In the following chapters, we will discuss in detail some of the questions you may have at this point on the particulars of running your own authority. We will discuss load boards and how I use them. Now this is the fun part. Now we get to talking like really making the money. Money. Let's talk about the money now. But you see, it took a while to even get to this point to the money, because we have to be legit before we can even do this. We will discuss load boards and how I use them. We will discuss carrier packets and what that's all about. We will discuss factoring versus not factoring. We will discuss how I bill my customers. We will talk about fuel cards and what fuel cards I use. We will discuss tolls and my preferred toll payment provider. And we will discuss taxes. After taxes and morale, you will have the bonus pre-purchase inspection. Well, actually, yeah, you will have pre-purchase inspection, to look at, and also my tool list. That's all part of the bundle. And then you'll also have 10 secrets for successful health. So, maybe get inspired for a couple different things that maybe you want to implement physically. Yep. So, yeah, my tool list where I show clear pictures of all the different tools and spare parts I keep with me on the road. Are you ready? You must be. You've continued this far. So let's continue into some more of my truck and trade secrets, all right? We're going to get into the particulars, broken down section by section to make it really simple to come back and revisit whenever, you get to that part of your journey where you want to revisit the information. So continue with me over here on to chapter 16. We are on a roll. So a lot of these next chapters will be a lot shorter. So the bulk of the book has already happened, okay? Now the rest of the information is super important information regarding to actually running your own authority. So that you can use this information to get a nice look into what it looks like, how to do it. We just went through this whole chapter here, where I'm really, asking those questions for you to ask yourself, so you can, as you get exposure to this, you can make that conscious decision. You're like, do I want to proceed with this? And you'll be able to make that choice with not just off emotion, but off of from your experience and logic that you gathered from going through, the next 15 chapters as well, where you're like, okay, I can do this. I know I can build my customer with QuickBooks. I can use the load board. Let me go watch Andrew's videos on the load board now, and let me do this. It's like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And now you don't have a blind confidence going into it. You have a genuine confidence going into it, and that's what I want. I want to continue to expose to you what this all looks like, and and if you're already here and having your own authority and you're ready to make the jump soon, you'll be able to you won't have to feel your way through it so blindly. You know what I mean? You'll be able to be like, you already know how to bill your customers. You already know how to book your freight. You already know where to look. You already know how to credit check your brokers. You already know how to do all these little things that from the outside looking in, either A, look complicated or overwhelming, or take, years and years and years to build a system where they all work together. So you're going to be able to, with your implementation of what we're getting into next, you're going to be, at the very least, super exposed to what's going on, and B, be able to have tactics and methods that you can put straight to work, especially if you're already booking your own freight and stuff, and you're already at this point in your journey. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm going to rest this chapter 15 right here, and continue on into chapter 16. So I'll see you over there here in just a sec. All right.